What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Today I'm going to talk to the white folk, right, on behalf of black folk in America. Now, I know there's a lot of people that wonder why, as a Pan-African, I talk to white folks so directly like this. It's because, as a Pan-African who's pro-black everything, the way I view the world, right, is as a Pan-African, I'm standing on the battle lines, right? I'm standing at the battle lines. I am at the negotiating table, right, with the enemy, with the opposition, with my opponent. And historically, the opponent has been the European, right? The European and their descendants, right? And I mean, that's just a stone cold fact, right? And I'm not naive to believe that by me saying this is going to change the hearts and minds of these Europeans. But what I am saying is, as a warrior sitting on a battlefield, fully prepared to fight these Europeans in a battle of attrition that I know for a fact that I can win, you know, the empathetic bone still feels like there's room for negotiation, right? And in history, real tacticians, real leaders, they talk to their enemies, right? You can't turn your back towards your enemies, your opposition, your opponent. You can't act like they're not there. You can't try to continuously negotiate with them for better outcomes to avoid war, to avoid conflict, right? That's what all nations do. That's what all leaders do. Like right now, right? Our number one, supposedly as Americans, our number one supposed enemy is China, right? The media, the government wants American citizens to hate China, right? And in turn, China government wants their Chinese citizens to hate Americans, right? On behalf of the old men in suits, the governments who battle for position and resources and whatnot, right? But in actuality, you know, as a black person, I don't have any issue with China, right? As a black person, because I know as a black person that America means white. That's what I know. I know the white Americans have always reminded black people that we are not, in fact, American, and they have fought tooth and nail to stop us from being American like them, because American, as far as they're concerned, comes with a certain level of manifest destiny given privileges, right? And so that's why I call myself an African American, because I'm African by race, American by nationality, all right? Or if you want to say it in short word, black. That's what black means. African by race, right? And ethnically in America, we are black, all right? But I talk to my enemy, my opposition. And the reason why I'm saying enemy, opposition, and opponent, because not all white people are my enemy. Not all white people are my opposition, you know, and not all white people are my opponents, you know. But the greater culture of whiteness, which is Western, because Western means white. I don't know if y'all figured that out yet, but when politicians say Western civilization, that's political code word for white. All right, it's always meant white, not you, right? So what I want to do, I want to talk to white folks, right? The poor ones, the Republicans, right? The Republicans mainly, right? Because they're suffering right now, terribly, right? They're in an F around and find out moment. And as they sit in their apartments and their houses, and they wonder, how did we get to this point, right? You know, they need to come to the realization that we simply got to this point because they are racist. Because they didn't want to see a black woman, an Asian woman, a mixed woman, a woman in power, right? So they chose to forego common sense. The thing that I'm sure that most of them use throughout their daily lives, they chose to forego common sense and rationalization to scratch their xenophobic racist itch, because the layer upon layer upon layer of racist ideology that's wrapped in their brains is so thick it would take a millennia to peel, like a never-ending onion, right? And so they find themselves in a situation where all that farmland that was given to them, you know, some decades back during the Homestead Act, the biggest distribution of welfare in the history of mankind given to white people, right? They're finding out that all the advantages that they were given that one time, that the rich white man in suit gave them something, gave them ownership of land, right? With the promise of prosperity, and gave them the ability to farm and make a better life for themselves. Currently, all of that is being taken away by the descendants of the same rich politicians and rich businessmen who gave it to them in the first place. So all the white privilege, which was all that land they gave to you in the West and the Midwest, is being taken from you by these corporations, as they have no longer have a need for you, right? Your schools are underfunded, right? You have a terrible education system within your communities. Your communities in the middle of America and the West are dying. No one wants to be there. Your children wants to run away. As soon as they go to college, they find out about the rest of the world and they never come back. So your towns are dying. The places that you built memories for, you know, last couple hundred years, your towns are dying. When you walk outside, the place you once knew is gone, right? The hospitals that's supposed to bring you world-class service, seeing how America's supposed to be, you know, the richest place in the world, your hospitals are underfunded. You can't get proper health care. It costs too much. Only the rich people can get it, right? And you find yourself in this situation. And every 2 to 4 years, you guys get upset, right, that your lives suck, right? And then that rich politician comes into your town, goes to the town hall, give you a bunch of word salad, right? And then tell you that the reason why you're economically struggling as an American, right, is because of those people over there. And every time you guys fall for it, you get hyperbolic, you guys get angry, you get depressed, right? You do weird things, right? You go and you get your AR-15s that you bought legally, that you're so proud of, and you go, you know, some of them go into schools and they do things. Or they go into churches and they do things because they can't take it no more, right? Or you may have a child that has a, you know, that feels a little different, you know, and because he's in a super conservative place, he can't express himself. So he pops eventually, right? And then he takes an AR-15 that his dad bought him, trying to make him more masculine. And he goes into school and he does, you know, he does a couple things to those people who are bullying him, right? And the cycle continues on and on and on and on. Because you continue to put people in position that don't have your best interests at heart. You continuously do it. Because the one thing that you want to make sure is, you want to make sure that that person's not a liberal, right? Because you're stuck on that name. Or that person's not black. You're stuck. As long as it's not black, you're willing to suffer your whole life. You're willing to suffer. You're willing to throw your children under the bus. You're willing to not progress. You're willing to stay in a perpetual state of arrested development, all for the sake of your racism, right? That one decision that one thing that curtails all your decisions, your bad decisions that you make, that does not and has never and will never benefit you, your family, or your community, right? I'm wondering, have you guys ever for a second ever thought, you know, what is it really, you know, that those Democrats or those Republicans or those liberals want? What do they really want? And does any of those things line up with what I want? Because I think you will be pleasantly surprised that if you were to look at actual policies, and we're not talking about concentrating on the LGBT community, because that got you guys messed up. Because if you notice, a lot of your politicians are a member of the LGBT community. They just are in the closet, and because they're in the closet, they have to compensate by being extra manly, like your man, like your boy Lindsey Graham, like JD Vance, like Tim Scott. Like you have a lot of influencers who are part of the LGBT community. They are in the closet, or they found a way to come out and be provocative enough, to support whatever policy they say, goes with the conservative party. But the thing is, if you notice, your politicians, they don't come talk to you about what they're going to do for you. Only thing they do is talk about what it is that the Democrats are doing to you, what they're not doing for you. But the Democrats are never in control of the areas that you live in. From your state legislature to your to your senators and congressmen, most of you people have been voting Republican your entire lives. You've been voting Republican your entire lives, and your parents have been voting Republican, and your great grandparents was voting Democrat when they were conservative. You've been voting for the same type of people your entire life, and you've been getting the same result your entire life. Because you've been thinking the same way your entire life. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are hard workers, right? Part of the blue collar and white collar communities who, go to work and have to solve problems, right? You have to solve problems. And sometimes when you do a thing one way, it don't work. You try it again because you're sure that's the way to do it. It doesn't work. You try it again. It doesn't work. And at some point, you have to say, you know what? Let me do something different, right? And let me see what the results of those things are, right? Now, I'm not saying doing something different is just voting for any Democrat, all right? That's not what I'm saying. I still believe that even though you should do something different, you should be more poignant and more purposeful of your vote. You should no longer allow a Republican to come in your face and make you make national decisions based off if a man dressed like a woman can go into a bathroom. That should not be why you vote for somebody. Now, as a progressive, most progressives, we don't want to see men in dresses going in our little girl's bathroom. Period. We agree. There are things that conservatives and progressives and liberals agree upon because certain things transcends politics. Certain things go beyond politics. You will be hard pressed to really find any Democrat. Well, the ones with the blue hair, the white women with the blue hair, they all for it. Let's be more specific. The real power center of the Democratic Party is the African American vote. All right, let's talk about us, because you guys are supposed to be. I'm supposed to be talking to the racist ones, or the racist adjacent, or the racist, the people who don't see color. All you guys, right? We don't want to see women in dresses going in our girls' bathrooms. That's the truth, right? We don't want to see women taking advantage of our children, just like you, right? But currently, right now, the Republican Party that you support, currently, they are the ringleaders of abusing children, of taking advantage of those very same girls that you say you would be offended by if a man with a dress and a wig were to walk into that bathroom, right? So we all agree we don't want men taking advantage of our girls, all right? We both agree on that. Progressive, liberals, and conservatives, right? We both want to have better health care for our communities. We both would love to be able to get health care without it destroying us financially, right? Something like universal health care. I don't believe there should be any conservative that will be against universal health care, because most conservatives are on welfare. They're on Medicaid because they need some sort of social service to help them because the economy doesn't work for them. And the only thing that benefits us are these very few social programs that are popular with 80% of the American population. Those are progressive and liberal policies, right? You enjoy those things in real life, right? So universal health care would be something that you should be advocating for, because that way, you could take your child to the doctors, or you can go to the doctors, get anything fixed, and that doesn't have to crush your life. That's something progressives and liberals want. That's something that you guys should want, right? We know that. For a long time, the Republicans have been talking about getting rid of Obamacare, which you all enjoy, by the way, right? And you guys didn't realize you were enjoying what you guys have been making fun of is Obamacare until some of it started to get taken away. And then you realize, damn, I like those policies. But you allowed some rich man in a suit who's probably gay to frighten you about gay people because he's afraid to come out the closet himself, right? So we both want to take care of our children. We both realize America is the richest country in the world and should be able to afford these things, just like those great European countries that show off that they can do these things, right? Right? So there are things that we all like that would improve our lives. Now, let me ask you this, racist white American, all right? If your children could get taken care of with universal health care, right? If your children had a decent education, right? And they had lunch and food being served to them in school, right? If you had an opportunity to get a job with a decent pay, right? And you weren't being worked like a slave, do you think you would be as upset with the world around you, and you think you'll be blaming all of that on those other people? Think about it, right? If we stop, here's a good example. We talk about how the Muslims and the Islamic world hates us as Americans. Have you ever thought about why that world hates us and what we have to do to make it so they don't hate us? If we continue to bomb these countries and act like they're not human beings, every bomb that you drop is going to create someone that will have animosity towards the person dropping the bomb. You'll recreate the people that hate us. That's what we do. So it's a perpetual cycle. We bomb the Middle East because we're afraid. They tell us we're afraid of them. In actuality, we're exploiting their resources, right? They fight back because they don't want their resources exploited. The same way anybody will fight back if somebody invaded their country to take what belongs to them and control their societies. Common sense says you should be able to understand that, right? So if we created policies where we weren't bombing the Middle East, maybe they would calm down and not try to destroy us. And then we wouldn't have a problem where we have to have perpetual war all the time, going a different way, right? Now, you white folks, right, because the majority is still the majority of you guys in Europe, you guys have the power to upend all of this. And those rich white people in suits know this. That's why they have convinced you that the idea of woke is your enemy. That's why they have convinced you that multiculturalism is your enemy. But in fact, the true enemy is the ones that have you in an adversarial position against all these people, because it doesn't help you. Okay? Let me tell you what. Black people, despite all the things that you know you have done to us, because we know that you know, all right? You processing that information is a whole different thing, right? But that's something you guys got to do. You guys believe that at some point when we get to a certain level of power, we're going to do to you what you did to us. We know that. We know that's what you think. But what you must understand is that black people have transcended those archaic ways of thinking. Because if we were going to do that, we'd have already done it. What we want is for you to stop being violent, adversarial, and live and let live. If you let us live, we will let you live. Right now, you guys are having a visceral reaction because of several factors. Your population is dwindling. The rich man in suits convinced you that you were 30% of the global population. In your mind, white people were a major part of the global population. But they lied to you. You've never been, ever, in the history of your existence, ever been 30% of the global population. You've always been a small, fringe population. And if you look at where you come from, you would understand that. You've never had a lot. Due to the fact that you guys are always at constant war, your population has never been allowed to flourish because you always kill each other. That's why there's not that many things built in Europe, as far as ancient this and ancient that and architectural things we can marvel at today, because you guys keep destroying everything. It's the decision that you make that keep you where you are. Now, you have two choices, right? You can remain reactive to your, inevitable extinction, right? The way you guys view it, by the way. And how all the places that you colonized, and your homeland has been overran by those very same people that those rich people in suits went to go colonize, right? But you should be lucky that it's not happening in a violent way. You should be lucky it's not happening the same way you did it. So you should feel grateful that people are not doing to you right now what you did to them, right? All the colonies around the world, you don't have any real claim to that. You can name it all you want. You can make constitutions. You don't have claim to those places. That's true. Australia doesn't belong to you. South Africa doesn't belong to you. South America doesn't belong to you. Central and North America doesn't belong to you. Those are facts that you guys on your head going to have to deal with. But you're here. Just like I wasn't supposed to be in North America, but I'm here, right? That is reality. So we make the best of it. So if you continue with your adversarial position, right, about everything that's happening, all that's going to do is make you a target towards those who are currently gaining more and more power and more capability to do something about it. Before, nobody could do nothing about it because you had the technological advance because of that 500 years of free labor that we get, that, you know, y'all got from us, because y'all took that gunpowder and that cannon and y'all maximized y'all leverage. All right. But that's coming to an end. All right. So if you maintain your adversarial position, meaning y'all stay mentally ill about the situation, y'all continue to perpetuate racism as you become more and more of a minority. Therefore, the power that used to be behind those words and actions of yours are slowly dwindling, and you'll get to the point to where you're just a super minority being racist with zero benefit and no one to back you up when those consequences come towards you. You understand? So, and if you do that towards a group of people who no longer will tolerate it and still have historical memory of the past, you're going to be speeding up your decline. And it's already bad in Europe. Y'all have wars. Y'all should not be in wartime. Y'all supposed to be in baby making time. That's your priority. Should be peace, love, and happiness. Peace, love, and happiness, right? And your priority should be concentrating on your communities and how to regrow your communities. Now, I'm sure that the global brown melanated community will allow you guys to thrive if you had a less adversarial position. Meaning, I believe Europe should be for the Europeans. I believe there's a way for you guys to maintain the integrity and culture of Europe for Europeans. And I believe there's a way to do that. But it's going to take a drastic change in you guys. You're going to have to just stop being racist. You guys are going to go in your churches, go into your town halls, and y'all going to have to all make a very big decision. You're going to have to give up on this racist because it's not benefiting you at all. At this point, you should realize our collective enemy are the rich people, no matter what color they are. Most of them are white. But the collective enemy, our collective enemy, are those rich people, right? And so we need to figure out a way how to do something to stop them from doing the things that they've been doing. You understand? We have to figure out a way how to stop them from affecting us as a group of people the way they've been affecting us. Okay, so, and the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we stop the petty fights that's happening laterally and start looking at who the true enemy is up top. So you guys are going to have to make a decision. You're going to have to just stop being racist. You're going to have to figure out, you're going to have to stop being afraid of those people you have to stop being afraid of those people who you are afraid of. You're going to have to start making a decision that, you know what? Let me not be afraid of those black people. Most of you guys who are afraid of black people and afraid of people of color, you never met one, right? You've never truly been in an environment to see if there's really something that you're supposed to be afraid of. You've never dealt with it. Like I know that. I know this to be a fact. And I've met many different types of white folks and learned a lot about you guys, you American white folks, you European Americans. And I learned that most of your racism comes from a lack of knowledge, lack of exposure, right? And if you pay attention to your brothers and sisters who have been exposed to the black community, the community you're most afraid of, you will find out that they were sadly mistaken. That when you come to the black community, no matter how intimidating it may look, because of the same propaganda that you watch, it's the same propaganda that everybody else watch. We all watch the same TV shows. We all were programmed by the same programmer to think and believe certain things about each other, right? So if you guys were to, you know what, take a risk, because you guys are very brave. Y'all do a lot of shit. Y'all jump off cliffs. Y'all jump out of planes without parachutes. Y'all go hunting for bears and shit. Like, so you need to find that bravery within you and say, you know what? Let me go engage with the black community unbiasedly. And let me go see if everything that I've been taught from my community is wrong. And this is what happens when your kids go to college. That's why, if you notice, your anti-intellectual institutions within your communities shun college. They don't like your children to go to college. They're anti-intellectual because they don't want your children to be exposed to this fact. That's what makes college so dangerous. That's why Turning Point USA and all of them will go to universities trying to reverse the propaganda that's taught in those little small homogenous towns you guys come from, when they go and get exposed to the world and find out those black people are not as mean as they say they are. Those black people who look that stereotypical way, they're articulate and they're very smart and they're very kind and they take care of me, and they'll be the best friends you ever had. They'll protect you better than the people in your community, and you hear about this all the time. If you were to engage with the people that you're so afraid of, you will find out, you will unplug yourself from the matrix, and you will realize that this whole time you've been scared for no reason. And I'm a Pan-African, I'm pro-black, I'm black first. I want to protect my people. That means I'm willing to fight a battle of attrition with you guys to the bloody end. But I'm also willing to sit here and negotiate like, hey, there's a different way. There is a way where you can have your solidarity as Europeans, your identity and your pride as white people, as Europeans, and not attack us, and not think that in order to be a prideful European, you have to have the black people have to be your op. The Latinos have to be your op. The Asian have to be your op. The rich people convince you that everybody has to be your op. And in turn, you've gotten absolutely nothing. And the thing is, you guys didn't realize that because you weren't feeling the pain until just now. Because you were fine when everything was happening to everybody else, because it didn't trickle all the way down to you yet. Or you didn't realize that the suffering and economic suffering that you've been suffering has been because of the same thing. We all suffer the same way. We all want the same thing for our families. The only difference is that white people are racist. And because white people are racist, it stops them from making the better decision to improve their communities. It stops them from having allies that will be on their side. No one wants to take over the white community. But no one's going to tolerate the white community taking over the whole world. You've done enough. Your ancestors have done enough. Now you have to live on an even playing field. And yes, on an even playing field, everything ain't fair. That's true. I see reality. Sports, entertainment, military. I see it. Business. Everything ain't been fair for us either. Everything ain't fair for you. But we can most definitely create a better world that's more fair. That gives everybody a better opportunity. We can certainly do that. But the thing is, the whole world's going to move on. Because remember, America is the biggest point of white power on the planet. Okay? And this is the real truth. But America's only 5% of the global population. And in that 5%, white people are not the majority anymore. Well, y'all kind of sort of are, but not really. Right? So understand, the less than 5% of America who controls most of the power in the world are dwindling and losing power. Europe is going to have to renegotiate because they no longer have the backing of big America to do all their work for them. So now Europe they're naked with no clothes. And then they're trying to find a way to stay warm in the wintertime. Now they have to renegotiate with China and with Africa and have a less adversarial relationship in order to move forward and keep their economies going. Because rape, murder, and plundering and pillaging and doing that Viking shit, that's the past. That's a barbaric. That's savage. The same way we need to rein in these Muslims, right, who want to live in the 7th century, who's anti-intellectual. Anti-intellectualism is the scourge and the bane of the human community. And it's slowing down and it's causing the arrested development of humanity. These religions that we stick to that gets us to do the craziest things in the name of peace, yet we ain't seen no peace. Let African people be the example. If you want to look at real world example of Christ-like behavior, look at the way African people have handled themselves around you over the last 500 years, despite all the things you've done to us. Think about it. Think about how welcoming we really are to you, no matter who you are when you come within our communities, despite the thing you've done to us. That's some Christ-like stuff. So instead of clinging to a fake Christ-like ideology that has not been Christ-like, how about you use real-world examples and be like us a little bit? Just like African Americans, we need to be more like the Jews, which are white people, by the way, the ones we call in America. Europeans from Eastern Europe, Poland, Russia. And, we need to be like them and be more communal with our economics. We need to be like the Jews, right? The Jews have a very good economic, how they work together, and they, build within their communities, and they finance each other's businesses, and they support each other. We need to be more like that. You guys need to be more like us. Be more peaceful. Be more empathetic, right? Don't think everybody's trying to take something from you. And I promise you, if you were to change your attitude and you were to just not be racist and don't let that racism cover your ears and close your eyes to when politicians are talking to you about what it is that they want to do for you, we don't fall for the talking sound bites, the propaganda on TV, and we sit there and we examine each politician, and we don't take none of their word salad, none of their bullshit, and we put in place and hold accountable those politicians, despite how rich they are, despite how much money is backing them. If we pay attention to what it is they're proposing, and we unite under the commonalities of the things that we want, and we actually start doing stuff based on policy and not off somebody being gay. But listen, there have been gay people since time immemorial. They've been here, they're here, and they're always going to be here. And the truth is, there's nothing you can do about it. That's just the way it is. They're gay. There's creatures in nature that's gay. No amount of you disagreeing with it is going to stop it from happening. So you shouldn't allow that to be the main thing when it comes making decisions to vote. You understand? Look at the results of your white supremacy voting habits. You got the white man. You got everything that you say is superior in there right now. You fought for it. Look what you got. We need the opposite of this. And quite honestly, the best thing you guys can do, and I don't know who's going to run, but we need a woman, a black woman. Imagine that. That would be the biggest FU to the institutions that have been screwing you over. And y'all know damn well how black women operate. It pisses you guys off. It intimidates you. It makes you afraid. But y'all know how efficient black women can be when put in charge, when given an executive position. And I'm a black man. I know how we African, look how Obama was good. You just didn't like him because he was black, but he was one of our best presidents. But we need a black woman. Imagine what would happen if you guys voted for a black woman. Just sucked it up. Voted for, because I'm telling you, any black woman that runs for the office is going to be qualified. I guarantee you. She's going to be tough. We need a black woman who's going to put all these white men in jail. There's a reason why Jeffrey Epstein didn't want black women on his island. There's a reason why he wouldn't even take the children. There's a reason why, because he knew he couldn't get away what they was getting away with. Them rich white men knew that a black woman would have been exposed to this. We need a massive correction. We need a black woman in office. We need to put that black woman in office. We need that type of energy to revitalize America. I'm not saying that white folks can't be the president and this and that. Y'all had a lot of time. We need to do something different. Y'all need to do something different. Do the thing that they've been trying to make you afraid to do, and put that black woman, and put a black woman in office, or a black man if we got a good one. But that Gavin Newsom, I'm with you. I don't think so. I don't want Gavin Newsom. He's more the same. He's a corporate Democrat. We know now. Can he run the country a lot better than Trump? I'm sure he can. I'm positive. But things will go back in the closet. Things will go back in hiding. The word salad will be more sophisticated. We'll have a harder time understanding it. All right? A lot of things will go back into the shadows. We put somebody like Gavin Newsom in. We need somebody who's going to eliminate and destroy this system. We need somebody who's everybody's going to be afraid of. We need a black woman. We need a powerful, strong, no-cut card black woman. And we need politicians who will back that black woman. We need black men. We need Latino women. We need good white women. All right? We need everybody who means to do America right for once. We need a massive correction, because your decision-making skills over the last 10 years have been terrible. And you see where we're at. And so The only decision you European Americans need to make is do you want to change? Do you want to be the change makers? Do you want to be the group that made that massive change that go down in history books? Or do you want to be that group that puts a nail in the coffin of your people? Because change is coming. Do you want to be a part of that change? Or do you want to be, do you want that change to run over you? So y'all have to make that decision because it's coming. Nothing you can do about it, right? But how fast we get there and where you're going to be after that change comes is up to you guys, right? But the racism thing, you can't, how you going to love dogs, different color dogs, they all different kinds, they all got different, you love dogs, y'all love dogs, but you don't love humans, all different kinds? You can't find the beauty and difference of, you can find the beauty in nature. You can find the beauty in all kind of different things in your house. Everything's not the same. Things are different. We know your favorite color is brown and black anyway. Or you love mahogany. Y'all love brown everything. Your house, you design your houses. Y'all love dark wood. Y'all love cherry wood. Y'all love the color brown. Y'all not disgusted by brown. Y'all love black. Y'all love wearing black outfits and black clothes and black. Y'all love those colors. So let's not pretend like it's the color that you're upset about. Let's not pretend like that is the case, okay? Do some deep introspecting and figure out for yourself, why it is that you believe the things that you believe and how that thing that you believe is stopping progress of you, your family, and your community. Because that's in fact what's happening, all right? So anyway, like a Pan-African, I can talk. Like I said, I'm on the battlefield. I got my sword and my shield, and if you want to go, we can go. But before we do that, we can sit and have negotiations and see if maybe we can settle our differences before this happens. You understand what I mean? Anyway, that's all I gotta say. You guys tell me what you think in the comment section. Just Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
Free Sudan, boycott diamonds and gold. Free Sudan, boycott diamonds and gold. We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.